Welcome to the 14th episode of Small Eyes, Big Dreams.
And today we're going to talk about role models.
Yes, sir.
Steve, Johnny, why are we wearing caps today?
Because
Hmm.
today is a National Cap Day.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
June
June
19.
19th, 2022, National
Yeah.
Cap Day.
Official.
Yeah. Only in 2022, it's the National Cap
Yeah,
Day.
National Cap
Yeah.
Day.
Yeah.
Only for 2022.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
All right.
So we're going to talk about role models.
What about role models first off?
Do you want to start off with who's your role model if you have one?
Oh. But nothing so kind of, lame, I would say.
Like,
Don't
Why?
don't
What's a lame
say
role
your
model?
dad, or you know what I mean?
Hmm?
Like I want some some good role models. I'm not saying like having dad as a role model is bad, but that's kind of
Right.
we
just like
Generic.
someone famous as,
yeah
your role
no
model.
yeah
I see. All right.
okay
Who wants
all
to
right.
start?
What about Ding? Ding could start off.
And me, you're putting me on the
Mm.
spot.
Yeah.
Actually, this is I'd actually say a lot of my teachers are my role models. I don't know if
Mm,
that's a generic answer because
It might be,
I
but
don't usually hear that answer that much, but
yeah.
I actually think a lot of my teachers are role models
Mm,
because whenever I have a question, I always go to them. And like usually after schools, I just hang around in some teachers' classrooms, like the ones who I like, and then they're pretty chill. And then like if I have a problem in school or something related to that, I can always ask them. So I guess they're my role models.
but um
mm.
yeah, I'll
I
just
mean,
bring up this question
what
later. But
yeah but
let's
what
just go
about
over.
but like how can you go against that thing? It's very personal, like
Me?
yeah, you were
Oh
you were
yeah, I have
just
a question
you were
about
just
that.
you were like going
But
against the
then
thing. You were like, but like, oh, okay.
but then
Johnny,
Right.
I'll just ask later.
okay.
What? No. Ask it now. Ask it
Ask
now.
it
No.
now,
Oh,
cause
okay.
it can,
Yeah,
stop the
kind
flow.
of the whole. Yeah.
Who wants to go? You wanna go, Steve, or should I go?
Okay, I'll go.
Okay.
I mean, mine is very well known in my
Mm,
school, which is Steve Jobs. I
Steve
I, I
Jobs.
chose
yeah,
my
of
English
course.
name Steve because of Steve Jobs. Like he was been my idol for like so long, and yeah, it's Steve Jobs.
All right.
All right.
No. You know how I know yours was Steve Jobs? Every time we had an argument, the
Uh-huh.
first person you'd bring up was Steve Jobs did this. Steve
Yeah,
Jobs,
yeah,
Of
yeah.
So
course.
Of
how I
course.
know.
All right. For me, uh, in fact, I don't think I have a role model as of right now. But then before, it was Michael Jackson because
Ah,
I
Michael
used to love
Jackson.
Really?
dancing and I just used to love
Dancing.
everything
Really?
about him. Yeah, back in around lower school. Yeah, I love dancing.
Lower school.
Right now, I'm trying to figure out who's my role model, but then uh
Probably me, I guess.
maybe man, maybe. All right. Yeah. We can talk about my role model later on, but yeah, dang. I have a question. The reason I said but is how does the teachers make you role model? Like isn't role model something that you want to be? Something you're trying
Um,
to be? How what identifies as a role model?
well, technically, for me, a role model is not necessarily what I want to be. It's just someone with more experience and someone like I look up to. And
Mm,
I'm not saying all teachers are like that. I'm saying some particular like teachers um at school, like I look up to them. So whenever I can, I ask them for advice and I
mm.
get a bit of their life experience, because you can ask your friends for advice all day, and I do that. But it's always nice to ask advice from someone who's older and more experienced.
Interesting.
Um, okay.
So role model is someone who you look up to.
Right, right.
Mm,
It's not necessarily someone who you want to be. Like if someone says their role model is their dad, I don't I don't necessarily think that you want to be your dad, for
It,
example. It's
it's
just like
it's
you look up, you know?
it's more of a. It's not.
Hey,
You want to be your dad. It's more of a. There's just one trait in that person that you want to follow or
yeah,
be
yeah. Okay, there's
I
an
see.
official definition.
of a role model.
Person who someone admires and whose behavior they try to copy. So
Yeah,
it doesn't
that's what
have
I
to be
also
some
believe.
position, right? It could just be behavior. So,
Yeah, it's
Right,
not the
right.
entire person. It's just that one trait of that. You just
Sure.
but
trying to behave. Yeah, behave
but
like
you
that.
have to want to copy that some kind of
Yeah,
trait,
yeah.
yeah, in order to be a role model. But yeah.
Then
So
in specific case, it's not like I want to be like a teacher. It's more like some teachers in school I admire because I can talk to them about their experiences, and I guess I find some good traits in that, and some like if uh they have an experience that they reacted to positively, then I'll also want to emulate that, you know?
Mm, yeah.
so the positive parts are the parts that you want to copy from the teachers, like how they react and stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
It's more like I think role models also have to do with who's readily in front of you. It's because like at home, for example, since I live by myself, I don't really get to interact that much with my parents.
mm.
And so the next best thing to that I think is like at school, whenever there's someone older like watching over you, then you can always ask them for questions and you can always get something from them, you know?
Yeah,
I see.
I see.
Yeah, that is why I said but, because in my definition, role model was, who you're trying to copy rather than just looking up to. That is why.
Right, right, right.
How about you, Steve? Why? Do you know why
I
you
mean,
think?
for me, it was Steve Jobs because I just love how passionate he was about his own, thing with his job. It's just not actually kind of permitted job, but it could actually go way further. I mean, he really believed what he believed in, you know?
Mhm.
And it's really hard to believe what you really believe, you know? I mean, it sounds weird, but um having those kind of strong and steady belief is very, very hard to have in any sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And Steve Jobs was really determined about how he was going to succeed and how he was going to improve the humanity on that and how he was going to make computer, you know,
Right.
and just
Yeah.
I just admire how he just went on. And if you think about it, he actually got kicked out from Apple once, right?
Mm-mm-mm.
And he just got back up and bought Pixar and made Toy Story, which is one of the best movies yet, you know?
Right.
It's so.
This is like where my admiration comes from, how he kind of falls down and still get was able
Mm,
to come back up because he was so passionate about his thing, you know?
All right.
Yeah.
I'd like to
yeah.
add something. I also admire Steve Jobs a lot, and I think part of why I do is because like even in college he wasn't like your typical nerd who was into computers and stuff.
Yeah, I
Like
think he smoked weed, I think he did. Yeah, I
like
think it was.
like Steve Jobs was a hippie, you know,
Oh,
and
yeah,
he
he was.
explored whatever he wanted to explore. And then that's how he actually got into calligraphy, writing.
Mm.
And that's why there are even fonts in the first place, like on the
Yeah, I know, right? Because
because a
Mac
calligraphy
yeah.
class. Right. So he wasn't necessarily the biggest nerd, but he was a visionary and the stuff he wanted to accomplish, he accomplished it. So,
Mm.
that's sort of unique, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I just love his quote saying, "Stay hungry, stay foolish," because it just, it's when you first hear about that quote, like that sounds kind of like what so what, right? But if you actually get deep, that kind of talks about your bravery, like how you should be brave in every action. So, like, of course, when you act out, you think about the consequences, right?
Right.
Yeah, this is not going to work because of this. This is not going to work if this. I don't think Steve Jobs had those consequences. Or even though he did, he didn't really think about it because he was really determined about how he's going to succeed on the thing, right? He was not going
Yeah.
to think about consequences when he failed because he never thought he's going to fail. And
Uh, I think.
especially these days, having like those social medias around and thinking like those guys are better than me, it's really hard to think that way, right? And if you
Right.
think of Steve Jobs, his college was not one of the top college, it was not NYU, it was not Stanford, it was not Columbia, it was not what Harvard and all that. It was Reed College, but he was still so, he believed in himself, and it's really hard,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think also another part of like Steve Jobs was like his speech. I
Mm.
think he had the really famous speech at Harvard, I think.
No,
And
Stanford.
oh, Stanford.
Yeah.
And then like what he said about death. That was really
Yeah.
that was really
What
impactful. Like
was it like a greatest invention of life is death? Yeah, and
right.
yeah,
It's
Interesting.
it's
yeah,
something we all have in common, and
mm,
when you face death, like in the face of death, you're gonna seek adventure because
mm,
like if you're too scared to take risks, then eventually you're just gonna die.
Mm.
So it's fine if you make mistakes, it's fine if you fuck up sometimes.
mm.
You just need to live life and I guess follow your heart.
And if you see Steve Jobs, there are big differences with the ones with Steve Jobs. Let's say Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, like they are elites, right? They went to Harvard,
Yeah.
UPenn, like
Yeah.
they went to like the best of the best schools,
Right.
like Wharton, right?
Yeah.
Uh, But Steve Jobs, he didn't go to good college, he
Right,
was
right.
kind of,
And
Mm.
then and then like as I said before, Steve Jobs wasn't a computer nerd. He was a hippie.
yeah, the
And
computer nerd was more of Steve Wozniak.
right, right. And
Yeah.
all of those guys who you just mentioned before, they were um computer geeks or they were past engineers. Like even
Mm,
Jeff Bezos was an engineer
mm,
before, right? And all of these guys were supposedly super smart and was cut out to be a billionaire. But
mm.
Steve Jobs, like if you met him in college, you wouldn't think that he'd become a billionaire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, obviously, and you know, when you think of Steve Jobs, it's just so great because you know when like all the other people like Bill Gates and all them,
Yeah.
they always had something on their back, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they
Especially
were
like.
all, but Steve Jobs didn't. He started in garage.
Mm,
Like he had no basement at all. Like he had no foundation at all, and he made there by himself, which is very inspiring,
Yeah,
that
very
that
right?
inspiring.
is why, they say Steve Jobs is like a very special case compared to
Right.
other
Yeah.
entrepreneurs.
And
I mean,
since you talked about entrepreneurs, I don't think Steve Jobs is an entrepreneur. He's more of an artist.
sure, you can
Interesting.
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that.
Like Bill Gates is an absolute entrepreneur. He's a real good businessman, but Steve Jobs, I don't know. He's an artist.
I have a question.
Mm.
Since we brought up this topic of entrepreneurs, would you say you look up to entrepreneurs like the whole entrepreneurial dream, like of starting your own business, your own enterprise, and like owning that as opposed to like I guess starting a career under like a big corporation? Like what do you guys think about that?
Um, I believe entrepreneurs are the ones, or one of the most important roles in the entire world, because they're the
Yeah,
ones who change things actually.
Yeah, they're the
Actually,
giants.
the
But what I think of entrepreneurs is not like you don't want to build a company and build a
mm,
company and make all money, but it's how Steve Jobs talked about. It's like you start off and say you want to do this thing, but nobody would listen. So you would eventually have to build a company,
yeah, yeah,
you know? So it's the company doesn't come first. So you don't want to be an entrepreneur in the first place, right?
mm,
So you want to do your own thing, but people won't listen to you. So okay,
just so Imma
then
just
I'll
do
do
it,
it.
you know?
I'm gonna just do it. Then
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
he just builds a company, and that's how it all works, you know?
I think the reason I look up to entrepreneurs a lot is because they take all the risk for this community or the world or the country.
Yeah,
It's like they're one of the top uh jobs for the economy or the country too. They're the ones who
Right.
actually shines the country.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
If
yeah.
Yeah.
you think about entrepreneur, they have constant worrying, right? They have to worry
Yeah, they
constantly.
have all the, you know,
So it's kind of
risk.
taking exams every day,
Mm, mm,
365
mm,
a
mm.
year, which is tough. Which
Yeah.
is tough. So
Yeah.
if you don't love your thing, it's really hard to do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, I think a big misconception about entrepreneurs, and you guys might disagree with this, are I think entrepreneurs are like they're not um they're not very common because not everyone's cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Mm,
You need to be able to handle a lot of pressure, take risks, and be a leader if you want to be an entrepreneur. And those traits are lacking in a lot of people. So I don't believe that anybody can be an entrepreneur, but if it's something that you want to do, then I think you should really pursue it because you're gonna eventually regret it if you don't, you
mm.
know?
I
Um,
mean, just like how I said,
mm,
like those successful entrepreneurs, they never dreamed to be an entrepreneur at the start. They
mm.
just started what they wanted to do and nobody would listen. So they would just do it by themselves.
Right.
Uh,
What?
but like I think there are certain traits that entrepreneur needs,
Yeah,
but I
definitely.
think it's open for everyone because people can change, you know,
That's
maybe.
fair.
I mean, it's maybe they don't. Maybe people can't change, but
Mm.
Mm.
still, I don't know. Maybe they can. So I think it's open for everyone, but I do think there are traits for entrepreneur.
Yeah, yeah.
There are
Actually,
certain traits.
real quick, since you mentioned that the thing how people can change,
Mm,
there's actually scientific evidence that people can change because the brain, there's something called neuroplasticity, if you've ever heard of it. So
mm,
the brain changes based on its experiences. So if you experience high pressure situations and
mm,
you constantly put yourself um in I guess growing environment, then your brain will grow with it. So
mm,
I think that has to be said. And like
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you're looking at this through the scope of role models, if you constantly try to act out to be your role model, try to emulate them,
mm,
or try to be better within yourself,
yeah.
um your brain will adapt to that. So, the whole notion of people can't change or um whatever you're born as, you're just born as that. I think that's BS.
Mm,
Um,
And there's scientific evidence to back
yeah.
that up.
I do believe that people can change, but it's it's quite rare because it's something that because in order to change, you gotta change by yourself, not by you gotta
Yeah.
be the one you know, making that last decision of changing.
mm,
Yeah. And going back to the entrepreneurial, you know, traits. One of the things I believe is entrepreneurs doesn't have to be like the smartest people, in my opinion. They don't
yeah,
have to
they're
be the
not the
smartest.
smartest people.
It's more of the you need the trait to manage people. That's more of a you need to know how to connect people, how to make use of that trait of that person. It's more of it's more of like a entrepreneur. So you need to be able to manage everything. Just because you're really skilled at something doesn't mean you're a good entrepreneur. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe that is the part where Steve Jobs was lacking. Maybe that's why he maybe got kicked out. I don't know. I
I
don't
mean,
believe he was like the.
Steve, don't get triggered.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
I
just
no,
saying.
no, I didn't get
Yeah, yeah,
triggered.
yeah.
I'm just saying, you know.
I yeah, I like the passion that you talked about in Steve Jobs' trait is one of the biggest ones. It's if you don't have passion, you just cannot do anything. That's what I
Yeah, you
believe.
can't work
That's like
that
the
hard.
first step. But then
You know, yeah.
you know, I believe everybody has flaws and stuff. And so maybe those because of his, burning passion, maybe it could, lead to a different side effect. That's why
Mm,
he could have, some downfalls. That's why.
You're
But
right. You're right.
yeah,
mm.
that's what I believe too.
I mean, Steve Jobs was such a douche at the start, you know? We
Yeah,
all
that's what
know.
I
Steve Jobs
think.
had bad personality. He was
Mm,
he was he was a sucker. But
yeah.
I think he kind of changed when he came back, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
all of his great inventions happened after he changed.
Ah, really?
You know, like think about Macintosh. It's
Uh,
very famous, but it was a failure,
ah, I see.
right? It was a start, so it has a great meaning because it started, but it was a start of personal computer, but
It was the best. Yeah,
yeah,
of
yeah, but
course.
it was a failure. Nobody bought
Mm,
Macintosh,
Mm.
but we still talk about Macintosh. But you know, his greatest inventions are kind of like Toy Story, you know, like those
I mean,
mm,
movies,
that's
and
great.
iPhone, you know, right? MacBook, those all happened after he changed, right?
I see.
Yeah, so
So,
people,
Um,
yeah, people normally try to be mean like Steve Jobs when they trying to be an entrepreneur. Like, hey, I'm gonna be Steve Jobs.
yeah, I don't believe that's the
I'm gonna
way.
be, I'm gonna be mean. That's kind of dumb,
Yeah,
you know.
I
If
bel
if you see Ego
yeah.
is the Enemy, the book, it talks
Yeah.
about how Steve Jobs was able to succeed because his talent exceeded how
Yeah,
bad
yeah.
it was, you know?
Yeah,
His
yeah.
talent was just too big, so it kind of
Yeah.
covered up the whole
That
meanness that he had. And so that's a bad trait. Being mean is very bad trait. I
yeah.
mean, you should be determined and
Mm,
have those charismas, but being mean is not good, I would say.
mm, I
Right.
think, I think, a very important point you brought up, or you you didn't directly bring up, but
Mhm.
something I want to touch up on is that your role models are not always going to be perfect. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course, very
Yeah.
human, very
and,
human.
and I think a lot of people neglect that fact. Like, whenever you're looking at your favorite celebrity, or someone who's famous that you look up to, or even just a friend, that you look up to, like, if ever you find out something bad about that person, it's like your whole world shatters. But like, that's the wrong mindset to have, because again, like, chasing perfection, especially looking up to people who you think are perfect, that's not the way. Like, we even talked about this in one of our past episodes about perfection. So it's you have to give other people credit where it's due, but you also can't neglect the fact that some people have flaws to them, even your role models.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Yeah, yeah.
oh. Wait,
What?
I might just go back to what Steve said.
Mm.
Yeah, I think being bad, being mean, especially, will is will eventually may make you like end up in a bad place. I think that's like one of the main thing that makes you fail. But then for Steve Jobs, it was a very rare case because he was just too talented, you know. And yeah, that's what I actually believe because I don't think being mean is a good trait to be an entrepreneurship. That's more of a, dictatorship rather than,
Yeah.
trying to
Right.
lead people.
Well, you're not always going to be perfect,
Yeah,
like, in an entrepreneurial job. Steve
yeah,
Jobs had a lot of pressure in that environment as well, so
yeah,
you kind of can't blame him as much.
yeah,
But
yeah.
like, again, just look up to Steve Jobs' good traits, and then, like,
Yeah,
he's
just
being
follow that.
Yeah.
there are some things you shouldn't emulate Steve Jobs on, and you should be
Yeah.
mindful on that, you know?
I mean, when I see Steve Jobs, where I really get impressed is his like speeches and how he speaks. It's a really rare trait. If you see all those entrepreneurs, there are no person who comes even close to Steve Jobs,
Right, right.
right? Like
Interesting.
Bill Gates. I don't listen to Bill Gates.
Interesting.
Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know. I don't listen.
Like a robot.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk. He like I don't know. He says the same word for like 3,000 times or something. Steve
Oh
Jobs,
wow.
he's clear. He makes his point,
Mm,
and it's just like, it seems like he made a script out of it, right?
Right, right.
uh
Steve,
Which is,
you should try to emulate that trait for Steve Jobs. I think it would really help this podcast, making
yeah.
I mean, but
making
look,
clear
like
points,
If you see Elon Musk, he really says the same word like so many times. Like he goes like say, this rockets, these rockets, yeah, these rockets are like, you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah, if you see
I
his
mean,
interviews and
I
all
mean,
that.
you can look at Elon Musk, and I guess the thing with looking at other people is you can take away a lot of good traits from Elon Musk, like how hard he works, how
Yeah,
much of
yeah,
he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But like as you said, he's not the best
yeah,
person like under the spotlight, and that's fine. People have their different traits. Doesn't make them any less, and doesn't mean you shouldn't look
yeah.
up to.
I mean,
Just take what you want from different people and
but
Yes,
combine them in
yes.
yourself.
but if you see Elon Musk, it's out of context, but I'm just saying. I think he's
Hey,
just having so much fun, right?
him?
With his
Yeah, yeah,
thing. Like if you look at his tweets and all that, he's having so much fun with life. He's just having fun, you know?
Yeah, maybe that's like his, philosophy in life, have fun.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Maybe.
he's having fun in like the most successful way.
Yeah, yes,
Um, yeah, as Ding said, uh, having, uh, having different traits from multiple people, I believe that still counts as a role model because, I read a book,
mm,
named Think Rich and Grow Rich, is it? I believe so.
think rich and grow rich.
It's a famous book. It's by
Mm,
Napoleon Hill, and then
mhm.
he's an old guy. He's an old guy. But he worked with Henry Ford, which was
Oh,
who
Henry
who
Ford.
was
Oh, Henry
the
Ford.
yeah the founder of Ford,
Yeah, the
and
founder.
Mm.
then he worked with who made light, who made telephones.
Uh, Edison.
Edison, yeah, Edison. He worked with Edison. So he worked with Andrew Carnegie. He
Oh,
And
was
oh, I know him. I know him.
he
I
was
know
like
him.
the main steel company for the United
Yeah, yeah,
States.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, he worked with multiple successful people. And so he
yeah,
got all these traits from them and then just wrote an entire book about successful people, right? And that
Mm,
is the book. And there he says that he has 9 role models. A lot,
mm,
right? And then
mm.
each person, the reason he has 9 role models is because he wants to take like this small part of that person and this small part of this person,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
small.
yeah.
That's why it becomes like, it combines up. And so it's not just like one person, you just want everything about that person. So
right.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
one.
mean, but if I look
Yeah,
at books about success,
yeah.
ways to success, or like what you
Yeah.
find from successful people, I kind of get overwhelmed because there's so much.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Um
like
yeah.
there were like I think 2,000 books talking about
Ah,
10 ways
really?
to success. Then there are
Mm.
20,000 traits. I mean, okay, there will be some
Uh
traits that kind of overlap. Then I would say 6,000 traits. I don't know,
this is
like so it's really hard because I want to find a credible one, but I don't know because there are too many and they all have names. Like they're like professor from Harvard and all that, but
uh
I don't know. I don't know. Like
I
because there
w-
are too much
I would
about.
recommend
I
you this book a lot then.
Yeah.
right.
Okay, I'll try.
I
Yeah, yeah.
um I think based on personal experience, like this is sort of out of context, but since you mentioned books, I
Yeah.
think if you treat books and what what you take from them, like all these amazing traits that make you
Mm,
successful, if you take that too seriously and all you do is read those books, you won't be successful, you know? You need
mm,
a
Yeah, yeah.
balance between like learning about stuff and actually applying it in your life. Because take this analogy for example. If you read self-help books all day and that's all you do, it's sort of like you're a knight in a war, right? And all you do is polish your sword. And by the time the war is over, and you come out with your polished sword, the war is over and you don't have a
mm,
war to fight
Yeah.
anymore. Same thing. It's like if all you do is try improving yourself and like all you do is read these self-help books and you don't actually live life, right? And find out these cool traits or traits that make successful people in your day-to-day lives, then it's sort of a waste, you know? You just
mm,
spent all your time researching about it and not doing anything, you know? So it's very important.
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah, the point of a self-help books or self-help, podcast is it's just let you acknowledge that knowledge and then
Yeah.
actually pursue. Yeah. It's not just it's not like, we're not gonna grade you of this thing, so you don't have
mm,
to memorize and stuff. But then you gotta have it inside your body, like it's like a muscle memory, like
Right.
muscle memories. You don't memorize it with your head, but then your muscles knows it, and so it
Yeah,
just happens
unconscious.
mm.
unconsciously. And so, yeah, I
Yeah.
think you just keep trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I think role
Okay.
models can also help that.
Right,
Should we
right.
go on with Johnny's role models? Because I think we talked about
Uh,
mine for like 40
uh,
minutes, I guess.
I've actually wrote down some role models that
Mm,
I thought
In the
of.
past.
yeah.
Um, one of them was Dale Carnegie, if you know.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
He's a famous guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a famous guy.
Uh,
Just for those who don't know who Dale Carnegie is, he wrote the like two famous books
yeah.
that that shaped self-help. How to Win Friends and Influence People, and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. So those two books, right?
Very famous.
Yeah, how to stop worrying and start living. That really changed how I think. That really impacted me a lot. That's why I like Dale Carnegie. And uh, I used to like who's that? Chaplin.
Mhm.
But then,
Chaplin, like the
yeah,
comedian or
yeah,
like the
yeah. I
actor?
used to
Yeah,
love
no.
him. But then there was this one trait. There's this one flaw of him that made me distance, which was he married like 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds when he was like
Oh.
50s or 60s.
Oh, so he met the best girls in his worst time. Never mind, never mind. No, never mind. Go, but no, cut that
Yeah.
part. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I'm just really trying to find a trait. Maybe Lincoln, but then it's really cliche to have Lincoln because everybody loves Lincoln. Even this Napoleon Hill guy, one of his nine role models, it was Lincoln.
Mm,
Well,
Really.
so I'm still trying to find, but
Um,
maybe one trait I want from a role model right now is maybe honesty. Maybe,
honesty, yeah,
yeah,
that's
honesty.
because like if you see, I don't know who it was, but I think it was like some kind of professor. He talked about everybody lies. Everybody.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
it's inevitable.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
lies. But it's important to be careful about those. You know,
yeah,
I know you're going to lie someday, and
Yeah.
I don't know that you are not going to tell the truth 100%,
Mm.
but be careful with what you lie with. That's what he talked about.
Mm.
Yeah,
right, right.
yeah.
Actually, just really quick, I don't want to go in too much detail about this,
Mm,
but I remembered one of my biggest role models is
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
on his lectures he always says uh tell the truth or at least don't lie, and that's very important because
mm,
he says that when you lie you corrupt the world, like you manipulate the world when you lie, and you start to believe that reality as well, and it detaches yourself from yourself,
Mm.
know, like you
Yeah,
become
yeah.
broken within.
Who was it?
So
Who was it? Jordan Shalensky?
Uh,
Jordan Peterson, he's a
Jordan Peterson. Okay.
clinical psychologist.
yeah, it's like a it's a rising star,
Oh yeah, yeah.
quote
Okay.
unquote. But
Yeah, actually. Oh wait, my professor thing was Jordan Peterson.
really?
Yeah, it was. I mean, he's
Ah,
over the YouTube Shorts.
yeah,
Like he's
exactly.
over it.
That's why.
He's just like, yeah, you.
That's why I
Okay.
said rising star. But then, yeah, I like him. I actually
Yeah.
admire him. But then it's just I'm not a fan of his attitude. That's why I'm
Right.
more a
Yeah,
fan of a bright person because he's
and I'm
always
not really a fan
strict.
of him too. I see him a lot, and I know he's smart. I
Yeah, yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
He's not my role model because he seems depressed all day. I don't think he's having fun at all.
Mm,
You know, his things are all like kind of. It doesn't cheer up.
His,
I'm
his,
not
yeah,
having a
yeah,
better day because of him. Okay,
right.
I can get
His
a lot of
lectures are
knowledge, but
yeah,
more
yeah. I can get a lot of knowledge.
his lectures are more like serious, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
right. It's fair.
And then what I think of is what did this man do to, get that cynical and
Uh,
talk about those bad stuff? I mean, not bad, but sad stuff. Then he really
yeah.
did nothing. So
You
I'm
might
like,
think, yeah.
okay, so like, what kind of what makes him this big? And now he got one. He's very famous in YouTube. So now,
Mm.
okay, so
The
yeah.
thing with Jordan Peterson is, if you actually listen to his podcast, he's not cynical. He's the opposite of cynical. He
Oh,
might sound cynical because of his, voice,
yeah, his
but
voice and his face.
right,
Like
right.
he seems depressed. Like he's like making no face all day. Okay.
The reason why he's so big on YouTube is because he helps out a lot of young men, especially because I think a lot of role models are missing, like for young men, like in our society right now. And he's obviously a clinical psychologist, has a PhD in that, but he also talks a lot about philosophy. So if you get immersed in this subject such as philosophy, you will tend to have a more serious outlook on life, if you explore different
Mm.
philosophy, right?
I mean, I think Jordan Peterson, he is a very good speaker, right?
Yeah, the way
But
he
the,
talks is
yeah, the
nice.
big
Just
difference, but there's a big difference with Steve Jobs. When you see Steve Jobs speaking, it kind of touches you emotionally, you
that's
know.
Interesting.
But Jordan, I don't think so. I don't think he touches my emotions. I think he's
Mm,
more kind of like, okay, I get it. So what? Like
interesting. All right.
right, right. I
it's
think
it's
that's
kind of different. It's kind of different.
Yeah.
it's different for everyone. Some
Yeah, for
people
me, it is for me.
Yeah.
I think that
Okay,
really depends on just if you can relate to them.
S-
Yeah. Um,
so yeah,
just to finish up,
mm,
if finding a role model, if you're
mm,
like me, who is in the place of finding one, I believe it's better to just get a trait that you want to follow first, that you admire, that you want in yourself, that you think you're lacking. And
mhm,
so, yeah, get that trait and then try to find people around who has that
Yeah.
trait. I believe there's a bunch.
yeah.
So,
Right.
for
For
me, it was
me,
honesty. So, how about you?
yeah,
For you guys, what trait do you guys?
for me, like
If
about
there's
role
one,
model,
yeah,
there's a lot,
yeah.
and it's easy to find them. But what's really hard is actually acting them out. You
Mm,
can see
Right.
them, you can read them, like all the books.
yeah,
If you,
yeah,
you
yeah,
see there are people who read a lot of books but really are nothing
Yeah.
because they don't act them out.
yeah.
So there is no point of reading. It's just for
Yeah, yeah,
fun,
yeah. I
right?
know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so what I think really what I think really important is what really important is this what like how we should act out the traits.
Yeah.
Like if we find one,
Mm,
we find one. Yeah.
okay.
It's just people read a whole lot of self-help books or
Mhm.
philosophy books, and it gives them a false sense of productivity. So when they're reading it, they feel like they're actually doing something productive, But like
Mm,
if they never act those things out, right? What
yeah.
man or woman does that make you?
Yeah. No impact
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
To answer your question, Johnny, I think the most important trait for me is probably yes, someone who's honest as well, because I really
Honesty.
admire honest people,
Yeah,
because
honesty
um,
important.
I think that's the number one. Honesty is the number one catalyst to becoming a person who you want to become, because like let's say you have values, you have a value structure in your life, right? Or
Mm.
um you have a set of rules which you want to um present yourself by.
Mm,
Well, if you're never honest with yourself or other people, you're never gonna act out those principles, you know. You're always
mm,
going to ask them, you know, and they're not going to be as genuine, because when hard times come, you're going to lie, you know. You're not going to act out your
Yeah.
principles.
Yeah.
So being honest is more than just telling someone a lie, you know. Being honest means being honest with yourself as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
and acting out the right things even when things are difficult.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was a great video.
Yeah.
Episode, video, podcast,
Yeah, that's one
whatever.
of the
Oh yeah,
longest
but
podcasts.
okay, okay, a great podcast because we were actually
Yeah,
filming the video
podcast.
at the same time. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Um,
Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, whatever you
yeah,
want.
check
TikTok,
out our YouTube.
Instagram.
We got TikTok too. Bam,
Yeah.
Yes,
bam.
sir.
Yeah,
All right.
360 all around.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah,
Here's
thank you.
more
See
Yes.
episodes.
you on the episode. What's the next episode? 15-ish?
15,
I
yeah,
don't know.
maybe.
15-ish, I guess.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys. See ya.
Guys.